Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, perfectly. Okay, good afternoon to everyone. And first of all, thank you for still being here because it's a little bit late, so probably everybody's tired. As announced today, I will talk to you about different topics. And more specifically, before starting, I just want to make a brief introduction of our university, which is Università Politecnica delle Marche, based in Ancona, Italy, approximately in front of Croatia. And our university has 5 different faculties: sciences, engineering, medicine, economics, and agronomy. And I belong to the sciences department. Our university is a medium-sized university in Italy with about 70,000 students and 1,000 professors. And I belong to the aquaculture research group. And we are mainly focused on different aspects about sustainability using different experimental models that's wide from Mediterranean species like sea bream, sea bass, and rainbow trout. We have experimental models like zebrafish, as well as I had a past about ornamental fish. That was my passion during my PhD. And we also have a polar aquarium. Oh, excuse me. Okay, just this very general summary about my talk today. We will start very short with an introduction about aquaculture in general, the European Union, and then we will talk about aquafeed, byproduct valorization, water saving, and new technology, and food losses related to sustainability. So we all know that aquaculture is the farming of aquatic animals and plants. The first aim of aquaculture is to produce very high amounts of product. Most of the fish are kept in intensive fish farming. This means that these fish are kept at very high stocking densities, and all the feed, water change, and waste management is provided by man. Aquaculture is the fast-growing food production sector worldwide, and only in Europe we have 85,000 people working in this sector. And European aquaculture needs renewed for its high-quality sustainability and consumer production standards. As you can see here in the right image, it was estimated that by 2030 about 62% of the food fish was come to aquaculture, but in reality we already surpassed this data. And oops. Why aquaculture? First of all, because the wild capture fisheries are declining. There is a general global demand for fish respect to meat. This because we know that meat is much less healthier for us respect to fish, but also meat is also less sustainable than fish. Then there are 9 billion people expected to be walking the earth by 2050, and to meet all of these people, aquaculture has to double its production by the mid-century. So the sector's priorities in Europe are safe, sustainable, and locally farm, and this means more responsible aquaculture, which is also taking care of animal welfare, a more sustainable aquaculture with less impact, and also an innovative aquaculture. Many of the current projects are using artificial intelligence in order to produce better food. So the European Commission has launched a number of campaigns to promote sustainable aquaculture in the European community, and aquaculture practices do not need to contradict environmental needs. Today, sustainable aquaculture technology and know-how has advanced so much that it can play a significant role in achieving environmental objectives. So when it comes to sustainability, I think there are some topics that are very important. So aquafeed, byproduct valorization, water saving, and new technologies, and food loss management. So aquafeed represents about 50% of the cost for a fish farm. And as you can see on the right image, if you look at an aquafeed composition, this is like a rough composition. Proteins, fat, and carbohydrates are very important, as well as micro ingredients. And most of the species that we usually eat are carnivorous species. Salmon, trout, sea bass, sea bream, and other species that maybe are farmed in other countries. And for this reason, we need a high number of proteic sources. So if we look at the history of aquafeeds during the past 40 years, we can see how the aquafeed composition changed. So in the 90s, they were mainly produced by marine-derived ingredients. Today, we have largely vegetable diets. And looking at the future, we have some new sustainable ingredients that will probably be included in the diets if we can meet the cost production. So this summarizes what I was telling you, and if we go to the present, so vegetable ingredients, we also have to say that some sustainable ingredients are already present in our aquafeeds, such as processed animal proteins obtained by poultry by meal or by insects that have been largely studied over the last 10 years. But looking at the future, there are a number of microorganisms that are able to be grown on a number of byproducts that are very interesting because they can provide so-called single-cell proteins. And we'll talk about this later on. Okay. So today there are a number of tailored feed formulation for each species and life stage in fish farms. And these diets usually differ by size and by composition. By size because it depends on the mouth gape of the fish that we are feeding, and especially on the life stage. And also on the composition because we have specific grow-out diets, we have fingerlings diets, as well as we have some diets that are related to pigmentation, for example in salmonids. And however, we also have some functional aquafeeds, and this means that these diets have not been designed only for basic nutrition and growth, but they also contain some functional ingredients that can enhance health, immunity, reproduction, stress tolerance, and product quality. However, there is a big issue that if we want to meet all of these requirements, we need a different set of diets in our farm, and we also need space to have all of these diets. And here are some examples from Scretting. So we have Vitalis for salmon, which is diets that has specifically been designed for optimal sperm and egg development. We have Proteac for sea bream that ensures the continuous growth and health of the fish. But there are a lot of functional ingredients, some prebiotics and probiotics. We have talked about this morning. We have phytogenetics, immunostimulants, specific fatty acids, minerals, vitamins, and functional amino acids. However, how can we prevent to have an X number of aquafeeds in our facility? So together with this company, Aquatrade, which is an Italian company, they developed a microencapsulation process for molecules. So as you can see on the left side of the slide, we can select a certain molecule, we can microencapsule this molecule, and these microcapsules are made of natural-based ingredients. And so the microcapsule offers a double advantage. From one side, it protects the molecule inside, so some molecules are very sensitive to oxygen, to light, to heat, so they can protect them. On the other side, these same microcapsules can stick to every aquafeed. And as you can see, by mixing these microcapsules that contain a certain molecule, we can functionalize our aquafeed. And thus, by using different micro-encapsulated molecules, we can create different lights of aquafeed. And we tested this in several species like trout, sea bream, and sea bass. For example, we had some microcapsules with specific flavors that were able to stimulate the appetite stimulus in fish. We had some microcapsules containing astaxanthin, which is known to have an antioxidant activity in fish and promote welfare, as well as pigmentation activity. We use postbiotics like butyric acid, which is known to have anti-inflammatory activity, or some essential oils, which are known to have antimicrobial and meat flavoring properties. So as you can see, you can put inside what you want in these microcapsules. And here are several papers that have been published about this topic. So going back to aquafeed composition, so we can functionalize almost every aquafeed. We have a set of proteic sources that can be used for the formulation of aquafeeds, but what about the fat fraction? Not much research has been developed towards this topic. Most of the research over the last year was directed about the proteic fraction. So we know that long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids are extremely important for fish, especially for marine fish species, because they are important for growth, egg quality, osmoregulation, welfare in general, reproduction, and so on. But at the same time, they are also important for the final consumers, so humans, because these same long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids that are contained in fish meat are important because they act positively on the cardiovascular system. They have anti-cancer properties, and they also have anti-inflammatory properties. Today, we have different sources of oils or fatty acids in aquafeeds, from marine-derived ones, which are, of course, the best one because they are rich in long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids, but part of these oils have been replaced by vegetable oils. Microalgae have been explored as possible producers of long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids. We have a number of genetically modified plants that are able to produce DHA and EPA, and there is also the byproduct valorization of fisheries and aquaculture byproducts. So going into detail, vegetable oils can be included in aquafeeds, but not over a certain amount, because if we have too much vegetable oils, we have low EPA and DHA content, we have an altered fish lipid profile, health and growth deficiencies in fish, and also some flavor and texture changes. About microalgae, they have been explored very well in the past, especially because they use CO2, so they also have a sort of an environmental activity, so by removing CO2. But there are some cultivation issues, high processing cost, and economic competition. And finally, the revalorization of aquaculture waste and fisheries waste is also quite interesting. But at date, we have still complex separation processes and high processing costs. So one of the projects that we are working, it's an Horizon Europe project, it's called One Earth, and it's the revalorization of a number of terrestrial byproducts to produce long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids. And these long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids will be then tested in aquaculture. So this is the overview of the project that starts on the left side. So we have some side streams from terrestrial origin. They can undergo anaerobic fermentation. Anaerobic fermentation produces CO2, which goes to algae photobioreactors, that in this case, it's used by the algae. But the anaerobic fermentation also produces volatile fatty acids. Volatile fatty acids are very short-chain fatty acids, and they can be used as feed for marine bacteria or yeast. And these marine bacteria or yeast, during this fermentation process, are able to produce long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids, which can then in turn use for feed production. So the One Earth concept, it's double. From one side, we can use sustainable extracted long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids from microbial biomasses. On the other side, we can use the sustainable dry long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acid-rich biomass as it is. And in this case, we will also have proteins, carbohydrates, and other molecules included. So Aqua Research is one of the partners of this European project. It will produce probably in fall and the test diets containing these purified polyunsaturated fatty acids or the dry bass of the microorganism, and a control diet for trout and sea bass. And my research group is in charge of a number of analyses, from molecular analysis, histology, phyletic characterization, so mostly related to fish welfare and nutritional parameters. When we talk about sustainability, water is also an important issue, especially because worldwide we are experiencing very dry season, or too much water. So it depends. And when it comes to fresh water, this is extremely important. And urban wastewater management can be something very interesting. So this other project that it's called CardiMed is developed together with the engineering faculty of my same university. It's a very interesting project because it's reusing wastewater, urban wastewater, both for agriculture and aquaculture, using nature-based solutions. And how it works, so we selected an area. There are different demos. We are in demo 3, but we select a specific area with water scarcity, which is Sardinia. Sardinia is a very big island in front of Italy. So it's an island with big water issues. Then we selected a wastewater treatment plant. And after this, we selected how to construct a nature-based solution and also an aquaculture trial. More specifically, the effluent water coming from this wastewater treatment plant will undergo advanced oxidation and oxidation processes and UV disinfection. And after that, the same water will run through these two crops, okay, which have a specific slope so that the water can fully flow through them and then reach the next section, which is called MBS. MBS stands for Natural Treatment Section, and this section is made of two different sections. So the first one is the constructed wetland, and the second one is the riparian buffer, which contain specific plants which are able to additionally remove or reduce nutrients and other contaminants. After this section, the water is sent directly to the aquaculture tanks. Okay. These tanks are equipped with Wi-Fi cameras, self-feeders, a number of probes, with the OxyGuard system, mini computer, that is sending recording continuously the data so that we can monitor this the situation of the fish over the time from home, just without being on the field every day. And again, our group will be in charge of assessing the fish welfare, specifically against certain contaminants after a 6 months exposure in this nature treated water. Okay, okay. And also new technologies are very helpful in aquaculture. So I also like to work with fish and to take care of my fish, but technology can make you save time sometimes and also can improve your production. And so this project, which is called FOLU, it's another European project, and it's measuring food losses in different commodities, and we are in charge of the aquaculture part. And we have two missions. The first one is developing an automatic fish egg sorting system using multispectral camera technology in trout aquaculture. So rainbow trout, it's very important in Europe because it accounts for about 38% of the total value of aquaculture. The production cycle is well known, from broodstock management, gametes collection, fertilization, embryo development, alevin, and grow out phase. However, there is still a phase which is number 3, so the early embryo development, from fertilization up to the height stage egg, that it's still a little bit difficult because what we usually use in Europe are vertical trays. So the embryos are included in these trays with a water flow. But during this very early embryonic development, as you can see here on the image on the right, some eggs are affected by bacteria and fungi. And so what usually farmers do is to manually remove these whitish eggs or to add chemicals to the water. Of course, this is from one side time consuming, from the other side it's not good for the environment. So we focused our attention on this specific moment of the early life stage of the embryos. So the proposal was the development and validation of an automatic system based on multispectral cameras that is able to precautiously identify, remove, and count the embryos. And so we started with image acquisition, or good and bad eggs. You can see them on the left, so whitish and orange. Then extraction and multispectral images for each channel with calibrated reflections data were obtained. We had then a manual labeling, and then finally an AI algorithm was developed to detect eggs and assign label based on reflectance data. So the first problem that we had to solve, this looks like a toy, but it was a real problem at the beginning, was to gently lift these trout eggs. Trout eggs are extremely delicate, and so what we did at the beginning, we used some plastic beads of the same size and weight of trout eggs, and we find out a way to lift them. And we find out that a cochlea was one of the most interesting things. So this was the first prototype that we developed. But rapidly, we moved to the development of the second one, which is a vertical incubator developed integrating computer vision technologies and environmental sensors. As you can see, you have the main hatching system, which is this cylinder, and then we have high resolution cameras, a 45 degrees inclined motorized cochlea. Then we have a router and a mini computer equipped with a GPU, and the GPU is essential to support the deep learning models. And okay, no, okay. Additionally, we also had some probes for oxygen, CO2, pH, an oxyguard system, and all of these data are recorded every minute, every single day, and are analyzed during the embryo development. And we also have a water flow measurement in order to understand how much water we are using to produce a certain amount of eggs. So once this second prototype was ready, we tested it in a real condition. So we moved to a fish farm in North Italy on the Alps. So they hosted us. So the farmer got some eggs and sperm from trout, and we got some freshly fertilized eggs. And these eggs were divided into two batches. One batch went to the classical vertical incubators immediately, and the second batch was used in the prototype and was incubated for a certain time. Okay, so here you can see where we work. It was quite cold. It was like 2 Celsius in this fish farm, and we had the cochlea, okay, and the eggs. And as you can see here, we had a top sorting area where the eggs were scanned by the cameras, and a bottom refilling area that you can better see in the next images, okay? And a computer that was recording all the data. Okay, so here you can see how it works. So you can see the refilling area and the releasing area here. And these eggs were passed in the cochlea once a day for 7 days. So almost 50% of the early development. And after these 7 days, they were put back in regular trays. And the interesting data was that, first of all, as you can see, the eggs were not damaged by the cochlea, so they were not broken. Secondly, the hatching rate in the conventional hatching system and in the prototype were not significantly different, and this is another interesting aspect. And finally, cameras were able to discriminate good and bad eggs with an accuracy of 94%, so quite a good result. Now we are working on the sorting system, because the final part of this project is to develop a sorting system that will remove automatically the whitish eggs, so namely the bad ones, and it will be ready by the end of 2025. In the same project, we are also evaluating food losses in mussels. Mussels are also very important in Italy, and they account for about 46% of the Italian aquaculture production. In Italy, the production of mussels is through the long line system, which represents a low waste, cost-effective and sustainable production method, able also to provide numerous ecosystem services, including improvement of water quality, because mussels are filtering the water, improvement of biodiversity, shoreline erosion protection, and they also act as a carbon sink because they use carbon to produce their shell. So, the production cycle in Italy for mussel starts in July with the seed, and they stay in the sea up to May of the next year. So what happens within July and before May? It's production loss, because it depends strictly on the weather conditions, it depends on the presence of possible predators, and so we have an average 4 to 20% production loss in a regular mussel farm. However, when we reach the harvest moment, the mussel has reached a 5 centimeter length, which is the marketable size. Okay, and so what we did, we analyzed for each sock. The sock is the one that you can see on the left, which was the real food loss, because this is the moment of selling the mussel. So this is real food loss, what we are going to analyze. So each sock undergoes a cleaning procedure, so inside different equipments. And what's the result? The result is that these machines are able to separate different fractions of mussels. So you have 77% of each sock, which is clean mussels ready to be sold. Then you have about 15%, which are very small mussels, and this is the seed that goes back to the sea, and it's the production for the next year. But then you have some damaged mussels. You can see the one on the top right, which is completely crushed, and so you cannot sell this mussel because it's completely broken. And the one on the bottom right, which is a little bit broken, so it's still sellable. And so, as you can see, from this analysis, we realized that this kind of equipment that helps men in saving time in cleaning mussels for selling them produces about 3.27% of food loss. And we also have to underline the fact that some of the mussels are collected from the sea before May. And these are undersized mussels. And this happens also in some areas of the Mediterranean Sea, because we have some areas, such as the one where we live, that are very eutrophic, so mussels grow very, very well. And so this area usually sell mussels to other areas in the Mediterranean area where the mussels grow less. And so in May, the mussel farmers usually collect part of their production. They are stocked, they are shipped in refrigerated trucks, and they are shipped to other areas, for example, to Sicily, to Sardinia, or other areas. And this is quite important because in Italy we have different regional varieties of mussels, which are appreciated because they get different tastes depending on the sea or the area in which they live and the phytoplankton they eat. And so we are also analyzing how these mussels are responding to this shipment, which is quite important because this shipment is quite long. It can be 15-20 hours long in refrigerated conditions. And the initial results that we had is that we had like an oxidative stress in the gills, but for the rest, the animals were quite fine. And just to finish, this is a last project that was approved, and it started on August 21st, 2027, so it's almost 15 days that started. So this project is revalorizing macroalgae discharge from a company, and it's founded by the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership. And these macroalgae discharge are used to grow through fermentation processes some fungi strains, and in this case, we are going to test different species, and then we will produce 3 different diets, and test them on a pilot on sea bass. Then the best fungi species will be selected for the final validation in a different trial with a very comprehensive multidisciplinary approach that is involving different research institutes and university. And so as a general remarks, we can say that achieving sustainability in aquaculture requires collaboration and an integrated approach that lowers resource use, reduces waste and environmental pollution, and especially promotes circularity. So advancements in feed, innovation and production, water recycling, and waste valorization have been done and are supporting responsible growth while protecting ecosystem and ensuring long-term food security. And last but not least, as you know, there is the possibility to have a free paper on animals, which is an MDPI paper. Animals has different scopes. There are some flyers probably on your table, and this paper has to be submitted by the end of 2025. So I will be happy to help you in preparing this paper, but results have to be ready because otherwise we will not be able to submit it on time. And I will also thank MDPI because they partially funded my travel here. And for younger people, I think there are also a lot of awards for PhD students, young investigators. So I kindly invite you to check their website and try to apply. Applying is for free, then maybe you will get a prize. And there are also a lot of special issues, maybe there are some new ones, and sometimes if you have a very good paper, they will provide you a paper for free. So I warmly invite you to consider this offer, and in case to talk to me or to the organizers. And I would love to see a paper published coming from this conference. Last but not least, I would like to thank all the conference organization and for partially supporting me, for inviting us. It's always a big pleasure. And also thank you to all of my colleagues that of course are supporting all of this research. And thank you very much. And if you have any question, the floor is open, or I will be around for both days. Thank you very much.